I work from home most days of the month. Sometimes I have to go into the office to pick something up or have an in-person meeting, but that would only be once or twice a month. Working from home is really nice, but I often find myself getting distracted easily. On this day, I had a lot to get done and not a lot of time to do it. I was focused, working on my laptop in the office, when the doorbell rang. I rushed over to the door and opened it a crack, seeing a man on my porch. "Can I help you?" I asked. "Hi, I'm looking for Mr. Peters," the man said, smiling at me. That was my name, but I didn't recognize him. "That's me. What did you need?" The man said he had important information to discuss with me and asked if we could talk in more privacy inside the house. I first asked what the information was about, but he declined to give any details. "I'm okay then," I said, closing the door. I went back upstairs to my office and started working again. A minute later, though, the doorbell rang again. I knew it had to be the same man, which started making me frustrated. I ran back down to the door and opened it, fully prepared to tell the man to leave, but he was already gone. There was no one at the door and no cars or anything outside the house. I stuck my head outside and looked around, then closed the door again. The rest of the day went by without any more issues. I finished working, though had to do an hour of overtime. Once it got late, I shut off the TV and went upstairs to shower before bed. I turned on the water and was waiting for it to heat up when the doorbell rang again. I checked my phone, seeing it was 10:30. I wasn't going to open the door, but I wanted to see who it was, so I went back down and looked through the peephole. There was a man on the porch in dark clothing and with a face mask on. Even with the cover-up, I could tell it was the same man from earlier, based on his body shape and the way he was standing. My whole body froze, and I just watched him through the peephole. He rang the doorbell again. I could see he had something big in one of his pockets, either a large knife or a gun. It didn't even feel like any of this was really happening. I backed up quietly, but I think he may have heard me because he called out, "I'm looking for Mr. Peters, just need to tell him something important." Thinking he knew I was there already, I ran upstairs and got my phone, calling 911. While on the phone, a gunshot ripped through the house. The sudden sound made my ears ring. I couldn't even hear what the officer was saying. The ringing faded over the next minute, and I heard nothing else. I was sure the guy had left, but I was still going to wait for the police. It was quiet for the whole time until I heard sirens coming. Once they seemed to be nearby, I opened the bathroom door and stepped out and went over to the stairs. That's when I saw the front door was busted open, and not a second later the man sprinted across the hallway and out just before the cops pulled up. I think he had shot the lock out, and my ears were ringing so bad that I didn't hear him come inside. I gave the cops a description of the man, but there wasn't much else to go off of. The man was obviously at my home to hurt me and likely kill me. He knew my name and had been looking for me. That's what still scares me. Until he gets caught, I don't think I'll ever get over the fear of him coming back. I'm a 24-year-old female, and I rent a very small house near my work. Nothing has ever happened to me like this before, but afterwards, I have been much more careful about who my friends are. The day started out the same as every other weekday. I went to work, came back home, made some dinner, then sat on the couch to watch a show or a movie. It was Friday, so I like to stay up a little later than usual, but sometimes my eyes wouldn't let me. I turned on a movie around 8 o'clock, and at some point I fell asleep during it. It wasn't until a sharp and sudden sound made me jump back out of sleep. It was my phone, and a sound I had never heard before. I picked it up from the coffee table and squinted my eyes at the bright screen. It was a notification for a message I received on Facebook. Opening it, it took me straight to the Facebook Messenger app, which I had never actually used before. I was confused, seeing a text from a man, simply saying hello. His name looked familiar, but was definitely not one of my close friends. I clicked on his profile and saw that we had one mutual friend and that we'd been friends on Facebook for 4 months. This sparked my memory from when I accepted his invite. Honestly, I'd just accept anyone's invite as long as they have mutual friends with me. I don't share anything too private online, so it never really mattered to me. I went back to the Messenger app and just said hi to be polite, though also beginning to recognize how late it was and how odd it was to randomly text someone at this time. Immediately after I sent it, the 3 dots appeared as the person was typing, followed by a new message. Reading it, I immediately gasped and dropped my phone on the table while looking over at the window. The text read, "I love that movie too, we should watch it together." I didn't see anything outside the window though. It was completely black outside. I was shaking, knowing now that someone was definitely watching me. I felt super uncomfortable too, not knowing how long they'd been watching. Then I heard my phone beep again and light up with a new message. I was horrified and just stared at my phone on the table, unable to move and too scared to look at the message. I can't even tell you how long I was frozen there for, as everything just felt so strange, before the doorbell rang. I jumped again, now with tears in my eyes from the panic state I was in. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, then tried to explain my situation as best I could, while overwhelmed and crying. The operator told me they have someone on their way just 5 minutes out, then told me to lock myself in a room and wait for the help to arrive. I agreed, trying to calm myself down. Just as I was ending the call, another message came through, then another, and another, spamming my phone with that awful beep sound before I turned it on silent. I barely got myself to open them, and saw maybe 10 or 15 messages in all caps of the man demanding me to open the door. Then, the very last message simply read, "Never mind." I didn't know what that meant, but it only took a few seconds for me to find out. A soft bang came from the other side of the house. It was very muffled, as if it were far away though. I stood still, listening for a moment before another one, louder this time, echoed through the hallway by the kitchen. Able to hear the sound more clearly now, I could tell it was coming from the basement. I quickly ran to my bedroom, hearing another, much louder bang, followed by something shattering. I locked myself in the room, crying uncontrollably from the fear of the situation, as I listened to the sounds of the man making his way through the basement and up the stairs. I knew I kept the basement door locked, but I was sure the man would break through at any minute. I heard the doorknob rattling, followed by several shoves as if attempting to push through it, before 3 loud knocks came from the front door. I sprinted to the front door, unlocking it and letting them in. There were 2 male police officers, and I think they could see the worry in my eyes. I pointed to the basement door, talking fast and telling them that he was in there, and they immediately took their guns out and rushed in. The intruder's footsteps ran down the steps as the officers opened the door and carefully followed after. They caught the man after a quick struggle. To keep this short, the man had broken in through the window well in the basement, so that's what the noise was. As for who he actually was the man on Facebook. I assumed he was using a fake account or something, but no, that was actually him. He didn't give any reason for breaking in, aside from apparently just wanting to talk to me. It was very odd and creepy. I'd never had anything like that happen before, as I kinda just thought these were things that only happened in movies. Later that week, I went through my friends list and removed anyone I didn't know personally. It's sad that I have to do that, but I guess this is the world we live in now. I had just gotten back from vacation with a few of my friends that I've known since high school. Most of us live far away from each other, so meeting up once a year is how we stay connected. Anyway, I had been gone for a week and was a bit exhausted, and looking forward to just resting at home for the weekend before I had to go back to work. When I got inside, I didn't even bother to unpack anything. I walked over to the kitchen and got a couple snacks to substitute for my dinner, then turned off the lights and lay down on the couch. I didn't bother with the TV either. I planned on just eating and scrolling on my phone, then falling asleep. After a while, my eyes got heavy, and I put my phone down on the coffee table and closed my eyes. It was late, though I don't recall ever looking at the exact time before I fell asleep. Sometime later in the night, though, I woke up. It didn't seem to be for any reason, as I didn't hear anything, but my eyes shot open and my head was in alert mode. It was a strange feeling, like something had to have woken me up to make me feel like this. I sat up and rubbed my eyes, then grabbed my phone and got up to go to bed, figuring maybe my brain felt weird about me sleeping in the living room. Walking over to the stairs, I saw the back porch light was still on. This wasn't shocking, as I'd left it on while I went on vacation in hopes to mislead any possible robbers, as it would look like someone was home. As I flicked the light off though, my eyes shifted to the back door. It was unlocked. I immediately got a bad feeling in my gut, staring at the door. I thought maybe I was crazy and pulled the door, but sure enough, it opened. I quickly shut it and locked it. Had I forgotten to lock it before leaving? There was no way. I checked every door and window multiple times before leaving. I went around and turned on all the downstairs lights and looked around, trying to spot anything missing, but nothing that I could notice was gone. Really unsure about the situation I was in, I went back to the door and tested the lock. With the door locked, I was able to pull it open. I looked closer and could tell that a part of the latch was broken off. There wasn't a single part of me that wasn't terrified in that moment. I knew the chances of whoever had broken in to still be in the house were slim, but I could not sleep until I was sure. This was the exact time when I should have called the cops. I don't know if I was just too tired to think straight, or if I was just really confident that nobody was still there, but I went upstairs to check the rooms. Switching on the hallway light, all the doors were closed, just as I'd left them. My master bedroom was on the far end, with a bathroom and spare bedroom before it. I checked the bathroom first, opening the door and taking a quick look. It was empty. No signs of anything out of place. Then I walked over to the spare bedroom. I used this room mainly for storage, so there were a lot of boxes and furniture scattered around. As I walked through the room, looking behind the boxes, I suddenly heard very quiet, soft footsteps coming from the master bedroom. They went across the room, into the door, then stopped. It was as if me and this intruder were just listening, waiting for someone to do something. The anticipation and anxiety made fear rush through my whole body. I could hear my heart pounding as I stood in the middle of the room, staring at the doorway leading to the hall. Then I heard the master bedroom door creak open. Another second of silence passed, before loud footsteps sprinted down the hall and a figure ran past the doorway. I just froze, couldn't get myself to move or anything, just completely frozen, listening to my heart beating rapidly as the footsteps ran through the house and out the back door. Still in a state of shock, I pulled my phone out and called the police. This was one of those home thrift cases that likely had a much more horrifying plot than just a simple robbery. Whoever it was didn't take anything. Police found no signs of someone having stayed there for long either, so they had to have broken in earlier that day. Whoever the intruder was somehow knew I was coming back that day and tried to break in discreetly so that I wouldn't notice when I got home. Then they went upstairs and hid in my bedroom all night, waiting for me to come in without expecting anything. And who knows what they planned to do if I walked through that door.